Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Before we get started, if we could please subscribe, hit that like button, and go ahead and comment down below if you're looking to buy a car, if you're looking to gain experience in the car industry, if you're looking to just learn how the process goes for whenever you're ready to buy a car, whatever your situation is, go ahead and comment down below. And in today's video, from the title, I'm sure you guys can tell, we're going to be discussing how to actually purchase the car and my personal thoughts and opinion on how you should do it. So a lot of you guys were asking me oh Patricia, how were you able to afford a Mercedes-Benz at 18 years old? Now, I did do a video a few months ago where I explained what I did in order to obtain the money to buy the car, and I basically explained that I used to sell a lot of brownies and a lot of treats. I ran a little business in high school and got the money through there before I started working at Publix, but I never really explained the actual car process, going to the dealership and what I had to do, and me being a young woman who didn't really know much about cars, how my experience went. So I kind of wanted to share that with you guys and give you guys my personal thoughts and opinion. Everyone's thoughts and opinions, I feel is gonna be a little different. When I explain my personal thoughts and opinions, a lot of people tend to agree with me and they're just surprised that I have this mindset. So I feel I'm leading you guys on the right path, but by all means, I'm not a car expert, I'm not a finance expert, none of that. So I mean, do what you think is best, but this is just my personal way of doing it, because I don't like to owe people money, I don't like to owe the bank money, I don't like to take loans. So I'm just a very here's the money, leave me alone, I got what I came for, and leave, just be about your stuff and go. So if you guys want to learn how to buy your own car, a young individual, male or female, then just go ahead and keep on watching. Now, quick disclaimer before I get started, this video isn't for any bragging purposes. I said this in the last video where I explained to you guys what I did in order to obtain the money as well. I was look, this is my car. I've done a car tour before as well. So if you guys want to see that, I suggest you guys check that out. I show you guys the inside, the outside, what I carry inside my car, stuff like that. And I do plan on doing more car videos. But as always, I do want to give the little disclaimer because I know Mercedes-Benz is a nice car. And that's just a personal preference, the car I chose to purchase back when I was 18. I am currently 20 now, but it's not for any bragging purposes. I think a car is just meant to take you from point A to point B. So if the most you can afford is a Toyota Corolla, there's nothing wrong with that. There shouldn't be a standard or a car shaming thing oh, you drive a Corolla and I drive a BMW. It doesn't matter, you just drive what you can afford and what you personally like. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Now, as a young individual, it is so common for them to try to take advantage of you in a dealership if they genuinely see that you don't know what you're doing. So you have two options, honestly, if you don't want to be scammed for your money. Option one, which I suggest you do this despite if you know your stuff or not, is that you go with an adult. Now, some of us don't have parents who can come with us, to the actual dealership. Maybe your mom doesn't know anything about it, and maybe, you don't speak to your dad, or vice versa, or maybe your parents are just busy, or maybe you just want to do it by yourself. I don't know, but if your parents can't go with you, that doesn't mean that an adult can't go with you. Get your neighbor to go with you. Get a manager to go with you. Get someone who you trust and knows their stuff about cars that can go with you. And even if they don't know their stuff about cars, just having an older figure there is gonna make the dealership question how they're gonna treat you, because they don't know that that person doesn't know anything. They usually think that the older you are, and that's just a big misconception. People just think that the older you are, the more you know. And I mean, yes, in certain cases, but not in all cases. So I know a lot of adults who don't know all that much about cars, and I know adults who are experts in the car stuff. So it really just depends. But usually, for the most part, the car salesman is going to respect you more if there's an adult figure there, because the car salesman doesn't know if that adult figure knows about cars or doesn't know about cars. His assumption is that he does, which for the most part, any adult is most likely going to know a little bit about cars. So they're most likely going to take you seriously. Now, if you don't have a neighbor, a doctor, a manager, a friend, just someone to go with you, which I still suggest, if it can't be an adult, take a friend, take somebody to the dealership with you, okay? But if you can't, okay, and you're going to go by yourself, which originally I thought I was going to have to do as well, I would suggest that you know what you're talking about and you know what you're doing. Because if you walk in there, a young female or young male, and you're just by yourself and you genuinely don't know what you're doing, even though you might try to portray like you do, you might walk in there if nothing intimidates you, if you're oh yeah, this is a 2020 Mercedes-Benz, you might try to act like you know what you're talking about, if you don't genuinely know what you're talking about, these car salesmen can read through you. That's their job. This is their profession. It's like, for example, at Publix, if somebody walks into the store and they want to act like they know what aisles they're going to, and you're just like, ma'am, like, what are you looking for? Okay, because I know you look lost right now. Okay, so you trying to act like you know where you're going. You don't know where you're going. So what is it that you're looking for? So don't go in there trying to act like you know what you're looking for, because if you don't genuinely know your facts, they're gonna read right through you. So at that point, you're better off just being genuine and going to the car salesman and being like, look, I'm a young girl, I don't know, or a young boy, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm looking to get a car and blah blah blah. Okay, so that's my number one tip, is to go with somebody else. Second tip is to, I wrote it all down, guys, so if you see me staring at my paper, that's what I'm staring at. My second tip is to get a used car. Cars decrease in value. A brand new car is going to decrease in value because once you buy it off the lot, you know, the brand new lot or whatever, it decreases in value because now you're the first owner. When you sell that, it's already been a used car, so you have to sell it for less. So you might as well already buy a used car, okay, so that you can get your money's worth, because a lot of these cars are just overpriced for what it is. Okay, so unless you got money to spend like that, I would just strongly suggest, or even if you do have money to spend like that, you can buy a used nice car. What's the point of you buying it fresh off the lot? Especially if you're young, I feel like you can get your money's worth through a used car. And like I said, cars decrease in value, so what is the point? A house increases in value, cars decrease in value. Okay, now just because you buy a used car, I'm not telling you to buy whatever used car. No, when you buy a used car, there's certain things to look for. You got to look at the transmission, you got to look at the miles, you got to look at certain things in this used car. But stop looking at the brand new cars and go search in the used cars. Now, when buying a used car, don't be going on them shady websites. Don't be going to random ass people. No, you can go to like big companies that sell used cars. For example, AutoNation is a great one. Okay, I suggest you guys go there. Personally, I have experience with them, and I've seen so many people purchase off of them as well, because they're a legit company and they sell used cars. But when I first started looking for cars, I was looking at like little spots, like shady spots, and the cars were shady as well. They're probably the same people who mess with the transmission and make it look like it has less miles than what it actually has. So you don't want to be doing that, because then you pay less because it's a used car or whatever. But essentially all the repairs and stuff that you're going to have to put in the car to make it work like brand new is going to cost you more than if you would have just bought it brand new. So you got to really know also who you're buying it from when you're buying a used car, because people tend to like mess with it. Okay, so make sure you're going to a reliable dealership when buying a used car, which I suggest that you do. My third tip is to have a budget. How much is it that you're trying to spend on a car? Okay, and stick to that budget. So when you go car shopping, first of all these cars are negotiable in price. Okay, so let's say you have a 15K budget or a 10K budget and you see a car that's 11K, you could probably negotiate it, you know, something like that. And a lot of you guys are like, oh yeah, I have 10K, but I'm gonna just get me a 25K car because I'll put the $10,000 as a down payment and then finance the next 15. Personally, okay, because I told y'all in the beginning of this video, this is just personally my thoughts and opinion. I don't like to owe money to nobody. I don't like to have that pending in the back of my head like, dang, if I don't make this much money this month, I'm going to be late on my car payments. I'm going to get fined. I'm going to get an interest rate. I'm going to get complications with the bank. For what? For what? Especially like if you're young, and I feel like this video is catered, I guess, to people who are starting off in the working field. Not necessarily, you don't have to be like young. I'm assuming a lot of people watching this video are on the younger side, but even if you are older, that's fine. But if you're watching this video, most likely you're looking to buy a used car, budget friendly. So don't go killing yourself with some type of price, because obviously you're probably not balling, okay? And that's fine. I'm not balling either, but I don't like to then owe money, because if you're not balling, what happens if you genuinely don't make that money that month? What happens if all of a sudden, for example, me, I work in a company, if my hours get cut and now I didn't make that money that month and I have a car payment to pay? Now I owe money and your credit goes down and it just becomes this huge mess, and I don't like that. I don't like messy situations. So if you, first of all, you have to decide, are we going for a car that looks good? Are we going to go for a car that drives good? Like, what is that you're looking for? You have to decide that first of all. That should be your first thing. You should sit down right now and in a piece of paper, write your budget, write the car you're looking for, write just certain things that you want to see in the car that you're driving. And for example, is your transportation essential right now? Do you need a car immediately right now? Because if you're trying to save up for a BMW, let's say, that costs, I don't know, $12,000, and you only have $5,000, and personally, I would not suggest really like financing. I would just suggest to try to pay it off all at once. You still have $7,000 to make, so that's probably going to take you a few months. So if that's the case, do you need a car right now, or can you wait a few months till you get your $12,000 and then go spend it on a car? Or do you need it right now? And in that case, maybe don't look for BMW. Maybe just look for like a Toyota or a Honda that might be like on $8,000, $7,000, a little cheaper, and you can afford that price to pay it in full right now and not owe anybody anything. So this video is basically based on that. This video is not me telling you guys to go buy bougie cars and have to finance it because you don't have the money to do it right now. My car, because I know I get this question a lot, I paid it fully, like in cash, and that's it. And actually, the last $2,000 of my car that I was supposed to pay, the guy suggested, oh, if you want to build your credit. First of all, he asked me if I had credit. I was like, no, I don't have credit. Okay, so this is young me, or not young me because I'm still young, but little me. I had no really like life experience, because I would strongly say that between 18 years old and 20 years old, I had the most changes happening in my life, and that's when I developed the most experiences, most maturity. I had to, figure out how to do things by myself. So little 18-year-old me with no life experience, and I went into the dealership and I knew that I had to, know my stuff, but obviously I don't know as much as these sales carsmen or whatever. And I was just like, I want a nice car. I've been working really hard. I want a nice car. And I saw the red Mercedes in the parking lot, and I'm like, I want that one. That's like $3,000 up my budget, but I'll figure it out. And I came back. Like, I saw it, I liked it. I came back when I got my $3,000 more, and I went into the dealership and I told him, all right, I can pay it in full. And he told me you should probably finance the last two just to build your credit. So the $2,000 was already there. Like, I had the money right there. So basically it was just set aside, but it was considered finance just so I could build my credit. So it was just like an easy way, I guess, to build my credit. I still have to look into that. There's certain things that I still have to do, but that helped me build my credit, and I already technically had the money there. So it's not like I'm trying to like make these payments, or like I'm like, dang, I gotta meet my hours this month because I have to pay this much. It's like, no, the money was already there, but instead of him taking it all at once, he's taking, let's say, $200 a month just so that it can build my credit. And I was like, what's the lowest amount of money I can finance to build my credit? And he was like, $2,000 is the lowest amount, and you can go up from there. But I was like, no, I'll do the $2,000 to build my credit, because I didn't even know much about credit. And I was like, I'll do the $2,000 to build my credit, but I really don't want to be owing people money. So I agreed to that, just because I was like, I do hear people talking a lot about credit and stuff, but personally me, like, I just don't like owing people money. So that was just like okay, whatever. So that ended up happening, and it was fine. But I strongly suggest, like I told you guys, at least in my opinion, is for you not to finance a car, for you to just pay it off. And always remember, if this is your first car, or if you're young, you're probably most likely going to change cars in the future, okay? So the first car you get doesn't need to be the nicest car. And I know you guys are probably like, oh, look who's talking. I used to drive a car that had no handles, okay? So I would go through the freaking window, like unlock the door through the window, and then jump seats. And I was always late for school because I was jumping seats and I didn't leave my house on time. And, I went through my fair share, and it made me want to hustle to buy a car. And my hustling went well, my business took off and stuff like that, and I had enough money. And I was like, okay, I thought I was going to buy a Honda, but I realized that I had enough money to go buy a different car, and I really liked the way it looked and stuff. And I was like, I feel like I deserve to treat myself for all the hard work I've been putting in, and that's why I bought that car. Now, another tip I suggest is that unless you have enough money in the bank to buy it twice, don't buy it. Now, I know this is a hard one because I know a car is like a chunk of a payment. So it's kind of like, dang, if a car is $10,000, am I not supposed to buy a car until I have $20,000? Technically, yeah. I would suggest that you buy a bum car before buying a nice car and then having zero amount of money in your bank account. Because what's the point? What's the point? If you have $10,000 in your bank account, What's the point of you buying an Acura for $10,000 and then having zero in your bank account when you could have bought a Honda for $5,000 and then still had $5,000 in case something goes wrong, for you to do something else with that money for whatever it is that you need, when in reality both cars are going to do the same thing for you. And most likely in the future, when you get more money, then you can buy an Acura. Why do you need it right now? So I would strongly suggest, don't go for the bougiest car. Like, don't do these things unless you can really afford it, okay? Number one. Number two, if it's something like, okay, it's a $10,000 car and I only have $15,000 in my account, is that a reasonable buy? It's a reasonable buy. Why? Because yes, a car is a chunk of a payment. It's not like a Louis Vuitton purse, which is unnecessary, and I would definitely not suggest you buy that purse unless you can afford it 3 times, okay? Because that's just like an unnecessary thing. I understand a car is a nice thing. I'm sorry, not a nice thing. Well, it could be a nice thing, but I understand a car is like a necessity, but you don't need the bougiest car. The bougiest car is not a necessity. Just a car is a necessity. So, you really got to weigh your options there. And I know you're probably like, oh, well, if I'm going to buy a car, I might as well buy a nice car. So if you have $15K in your bank account and the car is $10K, I still suggest it's a good buy, because even though, no, it's not double, the car is $10K, you're supposed to have $20K. If you have $15K and the car is $10K, you'll still be left with $5K. So the whole purpose of this is so that you're still left with some type of money in your bank account in case something goes wrong, in case something goes wrong with the car, in case something goes wrong with you, in case you need that money for something else. You don't want to just be plain broke after you buy a car because you spent all your money on that. So I would say wait a little bit, or if you can't wait to, double your money, get, a car that maybe isn't as nice, okay? And always just have money in your bank account, okay? Now, when buying a used car, this is another tip. I forgot what number we are on, but next tip would be for you to always check the car, okay? So a car salesman is going to be like, yes, look at this beautiful BMW, and it's yours for only $8,000. That don't sound right. Okay, that don't sound right for a lot of reasons. Now, this happened to me. So I was at a different dealership than the one I originally purchased my car in, and they had a red Mercedes, and I had seen that red Mercedes, so I ended up searching red Mercedes around me. So I started going to different dealerships that had that car, okay, because I wanted a red car, and I wanted my car to have some type of, yes, luxury to it, because once I realized that I could afford it, I was like, why not? Like I said, it was like a treat to myself, but that wasn't originally what I came in there with. And sometimes I have regretted it. Sometimes I'm like, why didn't I just buy a Honda? But I'm always grateful for what I have, and eventually I'll probably change cars, and I don't know what car I'm going to get, but that doesn't matter. The story is that I went to a different dealership that had a red Mercedes, right? And it had it at a more affordable price, because in my head, I was like, the more money I can stay with, the better. So I went to go check it out, and the guy was like, look, it's yours for $10,000, something like that. Some people say yes straight off the bat. That's the number one thing you don't want to do, okay? Don't say yes straight off the bat. And don't seem too excited either. Like, oh my God, this is my dream car. I need this car. Da-da-da. You got to kind of play the game a little bit and be like, what's the cheapest you can leave it at? And he's going to say some number that isn't the cheapest he can leave it at. So you need to negotiate that, okay? And after that, I told him, okay, I need to drive it though. So he let me drive it. And when I tell you guys, the transmission on this thing was effed up, okay? This thing was driving awful. I could have had an accident. So I told him, absolutely not. He said, okay, I'll leave it to you in $8,000. No! You want to give me a car like this with the transmission effed up that I'm going to have to spend $1,000 on fixing it? I'm going to need this car at $5,000. Oh, no, we can't do that. That's way too cheap. All right, then y'all can keep the car, because I'm going to get into an accident like this. This transmission needs to be changed. That's how they trick you. You see these luxury cars at such a great price. Does it make sense to y'all? The transmission is probably messed up, so you need to know what you're looking for. You need to look at the miles, look at the transmission, and know where you're buying from, because a lot of times these places will mess with the transition, mess with the miles so it looks good, so it rides well when you test drive it, but the minute you take it home, it's giving you all type of problems and you can't return it. So make sure you know where you're going. Like I said, I recommend AutoNation, because I ended up seeing a red Mercedes there and I liked it, test drove it. It was all good. It was a little bit up my budget because I had to, be able to have more money in my bank account even when I bought that car, so I had to work a little bit more and then go get it. But it honestly went fine, and I'm super grateful. I do love my car. I feel like I've gone through so much with my car, so it's hard not to develop like a love for your car, I guess. And honestly, guys, that's about it. Those are just all my tips. Be mindful, know what you're doing before you do it. And that's just like in anything in life. You don't want to go into somewhere looking clueless. You don't want to go somewhere without getting like a second opinion. If you go to the dealership, you don't have to come out with a car that same day. You can wait a little bit and do your research and figure out, you know, where they have better pricing. Always remember that a car is just to take you from point A to point B. I know, trust me, I know I'm with the young generation, or at least, you know, the modern generation, where we're just like, you know, we want things that look nice, and I'm a sucker for that too. But it's not what we need. We want it because we see all these other people want it, but it's not what we need. You know, some of these Hondas are more comfortable than these BMWs. And I remember growing up, I would see a lot of like girls around me in my school and stuff whose dads, you know, like would buy them nice cars and nice things or whatever. And you can't help but feel like, damn, like I don't fit in because I don't have that. You know, like my dad isn't buying me the BMW of the year, the Tesla of the year. And like these girls are getting like, even boys, they're getting Camaros and like nice cars that their parents are buying them. But not everyone is in those shoes. Not everyone has that. I didn't have that. So I was just like, damn. And you shouldn't feel pressured to buy a luxury car just because you see people around you buying luxury cars. But when I was able to do it, I was so proud of myself because I was like, I did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's me. And that just shows, you know, the truth behind hard work. Don't be fooled by the social media stuff. Don't let it affect you if you're driving a Toyota or something, because guess what? You're driving a Toyota, but you're saving all this money. You're saving money on gas and everything, and eventually you'll be able to buy a nicer car. So keep that in mind. If you guys need any help, go ahead and comment down below. These are just my personal thoughts and opinions. If you guys have a different way of doing it or have heard different things, it's all up to you on what you want to take. But this is just personally me, and I feel like financially it works the best, at least with me, because owing money is just a different type of stress on you, and you don't want that. So take that into consideration and let me know how it goes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.